This is solving absolute value equations, video 3. Okay, I think I got a little carried away right there with that. Okay. I want you to go to number 13 in our book, page 30, and copy that down. And if you go through the steps here, step 1, isolate the absolute value on one side. This is already done. The absolute values are right here, and there's no number on the outside. You're not adding or subtracting something to that absolute value. It's already isolated. Step 1 is done. Step 2, set up the positive and negative situations. The positive situation is simply writing it over without the absolute values. So here's my exact equation without the absolute value sticks that you see here. Same thing, just without those sticks. Now the negative situation is going to be rewriting this whole thing, but just changing the sign of the right side. So in other words, multiply this whole right side by -1. So my equation will be b plus 5 equals a negative 2b, and instead of plus 3, minus 3. So I hope we know how to set that up. And now let's go through and step 3, which is solve and check your answers. Okay, so if I were to solve the left side, I'm going to try to get b on one side by itself. The problem is I have a b here, and I also have a b over here. So let's get rid of one of those b's. I want to get rid of the left b. I want to subtract b. It's going to cancel out. Subtract b. So I will have the equal sign right here, and 1b, or just b, plus 3 equals 5. Now I need to get rid of that plus 3, so I'm going to subtract 3. It's going to cancel. Subtract 3. 5 take away 3 is 2. So you really have 2 equals b. You don't have to put the 1. 2 equals b. That's an answer so far. Let's do the same for the other one. I want to get b by itself. This time I'm going to add 2b, so it'll cancel out. Add 2b, and I will end up with 3b plus 5 equals -3. Almost have it by itself. All I need to do is subtract 5, cancels, and subtract 5. And what I end up with is 3b equals -8. And for my final step, I'm going to have to divide. Let me make this smaller and a little more space. So for my final step, I'm going to, whoops, that guy didn't move. There you go. For my final step, I'm going to divide by 3. So I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3, cancel. So b equals -8/3. b equals -8/3. So we have 2 answers. Now step 3, it says solve. We already did that. And check your answers. Normally I would say if you have extra time, check your answers. But right here, you have to check your answers. See, the thing is this. If you have a b on the outside of your absolute values, if you have a variable on the outside of your absolute values, you better check your answer because one of them might not work. Okay? So let's plug in 2 into this b and this b. Let's think about this. If I go 2 plus 5, that's 7. And over here, 2 times 2 instead of b, if we're thinking of replacing b with 2. In other words, take that 2, put it right here where the b's at. 2 plus 5 is 7. So on the left side, you have the absolute value of 7, which is 7. And over here, 2 times 2, that's 4, plus 3, it really is 7. So we know that 7 equals 7, which is a true statement. So we know that for sure, this guy is an answer. B does equal 2. Now if we take a look at the other guy, maybe the other one works also. Who knows? Let's check. If I were to plug in a -8/3 into this top value, and let me actually move all this to the side. Let me move that out of the way. And let me plug in a -8/3 into the original. So I'm going to go -8/3 plus 5 equals 2 times -8/3 plus 3. Okay, sorry about that. Let me see. So if I wanted to add the 2 fractions within, I'd have to put the 5 over a 1 and get a common denominator. So inside the absolute value, I have -8/3 plus, if I change the 1 to a 3 by multiplying by 3, then I'd have a 15 up on top. And now I could actually combine the top with the top. -8 plus 5 that is 7 over 3. And that's in the absolute value. So when I take the absolute value of 7/3, it stays 7/3. Okay? Now on the other one, I'd have to put 2 over 1, multiply top with the top, bottom with the bottom. I'd end up with negative 16 over 3 plus 3. Now in order for me to add 3 with the 16 over 3, I need to put the 3 over a 1, get a common denominator, which will be 3. So negative 16 stays the same. The 3 down here forces me to change the top 3 to a 9, because how do I change 1 to become a 3? Well, you multiply by 3, so you have to multiply the top by 3. And now you could actually add the top of the top, and you will get 7/3 also. However, we must recognize that this one is a negative and this one is a positive, so this is really a negative 7/3. And we know for a fact that positive 7/3 does not equal negative 7/3. So what that tells us is that this answer right here, this negative 8/3, is not a solution. It's an extraneous solution. It's an extra answer that doesn't work. So these could be time consuming, because on top of setting up the positive and the negative situation, you have to check your answers and see if they work. If both don't work, then you say no solution. If one works, then yeah, that's your answer, and the other one doesn't work if it doesn't work. So I hope that kind of clears things up.